So guys, we're gonna start not earlier than 9:15. They're waiting for more people to come.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope everybody comes late.
By the way,
One of them's more like a potato.
Picking one music to play. Can you? I'm gonna play something. Yes.
about the cinema? You want a little bit?
Lights.
You want to make it more brighter or dark, you mean?
No, it's up to you. You want to make it dim? This is the brightest that I have.
It's a better. We can make it a little blue, it's possible.
Dim.
Now dim. It's a max, right? Just we can leave it this way. We can change the colors? No.
No.
So yellow.
Just this.
Yeah, okay, it's fine then.
I want to see what I can download. I'll go once again. Huh?
Did you test? Yeah.
When we have the zoom in the screen,
Yeah.
that you need to show in the main camera. What is this? The spirit?
Yeah. It'll be in the main.
You need to show the screen?
No. Only guest.
Only
I
the
mean,
guest, right?
We will put that on the
The mixer.
the template,
Yeah,
and that will come on the.
perfect. So we can zoom in them.
Yeah.
Even like a one
No,
person.
don't zoom. Keep it as if it's two people. Keep it two people.
So one per person. We need to
One
zoom in,
person
right?
will not come.
So one. No.
Only it will be always two people. 2 people to 3 people.
Did you get the signal from
The mic?
no. Oh, signal.
Yeah, I'm getting.
This chair from. We need to put this chair there when we start.
Why?
For the streaming, the main camera. Need to keep on the recording and all.
Sylvia should get you on the show. Sylvia. This I got it for monitoring the live stream.
Bro, this chair from the cinema. I need one more chair. Please, thank you so much.
Yes, straight left. Cut left. You're live or DCP?
When the pre-recorded session is running,
Yeah.
these will be dimmed.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Whose audio am I picking up, dude? I'm picking up some audio. I'm picking up audio of the people talking.
Even the it's just from you. I get audio now, right? Probably it's from
How
cameras.
many people are watching from the live stream
Right now it's 11.
and from the
Oh, it's only from you because I don't have this signal.
This is going into the YouTube.
Ah, okay. How it comes to YouTube? It's from cameras. Because all my all my mics are closed.
So this is coming from here. Because I'm getting audio only from you. From this.
I don't have any talks. That's just music. You can check. I can. So.
Yeah. Check. Getting audio.
From where? From cameras.
Bro, can you turn off the cameras? Audio from that.
But then when they're recording,
It's coming to the mics. I don't need the camera audio at all.
it's coming up. Then the problem is, when they're recording, syncing it with audio will be an issue.
Bro, I'm picking up the entire audio. It's going live on YouTube.
Whoever's editing is going to have a field day. Don't give me, I'm not editing.
Actually, Divine 22 turns 50 this year, and they asked me to come back and do basically anyone who was around back then is still here. They've asked them to come and do throwback show. Yeah, that's a true idea. But so it's funny because my mum, set up, she immediately
My name is Milli. I'm the editor-in-chief of Cosmopolitan and the person you're going to hear far too much from today. But I am honoured to bring you an exciting and inspiring lineup of incredible talks from some of the biggest female content creators around the world. If you're going to be posting on social media today, and given the theme of the conference, we obviously think that you should, please don't forget to tag @ITP Live, @UN Women Arabic, and #ITP Live Conference and #Female Influence. In 2021, influencer marketing is expected to grow to be worth $13.8 billion, making it the fastest growing online consumer acquisition method. 84% of these content creators are women, yet the internet tends to perpetuate gender inequality. Today we're going to hear from a diverse group of women in leadership roles who are blazing the trail and using their influence as a powerful tool to break stereotypes, challenge societal norms, and advocate for a more equal future. Someone once said to me, gender equality is nothing more than common sense. This is probably the simplest yet most profound definition I've ever heard of gender equality before. And the person who said that to me was Susanne, Mikhail, Eldhagen, the Regional Director of UN Women for the Arab States, who I caught up with over Zoom, and I would like you to welcome for our first keynote opening session.
Hello, Susanne. Thank you so much for joining me today. It really is an honor to be speaking to you.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be with you today.
So I'm going to dive right in because I've got lots of questions to ask you, and I know you're a very busy lady. So careers is something that we cover across all brands at ITP. It's a really important part of the content that we write. So I would love to know about your career. What did you study? How did it lead you to UN Women? And ultimately, how does one become the regional director of the United Nations entity for gender equality and the empowerment of women for the Arab states? I mean, what a title.
Agree. It is a bit of a title. And the question is, how do you become regional director then for the Arab states? I have to say that this is a journey that possibly started already with my parents' journey. And if I would put a date on that journey, that would be 1968. That's when my parents moved from Egypt to Sweden, originally simply to finish their PhDs in nuclear physics and in Egyptology. But time flew, and they stayed in Sweden for around 40 years. And I myself, I was born in Uppsala, which is the university city of Sweden. And I remember my childhood, particularly around kitchen table, the discussions were fervent, vivid, lively, and usually about politics. And that inspired me. All of these discussions I've had with my father, particularly when I was a child, inspired me to work in politics and particularly international relations. For me, it was a quite natural move then to study political science in Sweden. And then I applied for an internship at the United Nations headquarters. And I have to say that the first day I entered the UN building in New York City, it was almost as if I had come home again. I felt that the environment, it was cosmopolitan, international, but more importantly, a tremendous group of people that are profoundly interested in peace, security, international relations. So that's basically where I started my career with the United Nations. And most of my career, I've worked in humanitarian settings, i.e. war zones, famines, but also from that very acute humanitarian emergency to very development-oriented issues with the World Bank and also with UNICEF. But I have to say that if there were a number of elements that have in a way directed my career, one of them was 2011. I'm sure you remember there was tremendous famine in Somalia and the Horn of Africa. Around 250,000 people died. For me, that I was at that point working for Somalia and UNICEF, but it was a wake-up call in terms of international assistance coming in too late. So that was one of the decisive factors behind me deciding to work for a donor, and in this case, Sweden. So we moved back to Sweden. I stayed in Sweden for 10 years, most of that time as a director of humanitarian assistance. And then, of course, going back home to my roots, in a sense, to the Middle East, and working with equality and gender equality, for me makes perfect sense, because I do think that there's a window of opportunity right now in the region. And there is tremendous interest in the area of gender equality. And there is a window that is there, but it can close very quickly. So we have from now to 2030, really, to achieve gender equality. And I think there is basically a tremendous window here in the region. And for that reason, I was interested to work in the Arab states, and particularly in the area of gender equality.
Well, you kind of just answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, obviously being half Swedish and moving back there for 10 years, but much of your career has been in the Arab world and the MENA region. And yeah, it's interesting that you have kind of felt compelled to work more towards the Arab states.
Absolutely. And if I would say, basically in a nutshell, why I think the Arab states is particularly interested now, I could compromise it in just a couple of words, basically. The first would be wealth. There's a tremendous wealth in the Arab states, wealth of ideologies, wealth of religions, wealth of human resources. There's a young population ready to basically contribute to the economy of nations. So there's an untapped wealth, in a sense, that I think is quite intriguing and unique for this region. But then, of course, there is disparities in the region. There's disparities all over the world, whether it's Europe, the US, the Arab states, you will have disparities everywhere. But I think the disparities in the region have propelled to the extent that they have also directly linked to conflict. So you do have a region that, in a way, there is tremendous wealth, but also there's tremendous variations amongst countries and also within countries. This is one of the regions where you have some of the richest countries and some of the largest humanitarian crises in one region. Yemen is the largest humanitarian crisis today, with around 80% of the population in need of humanitarian assistance. And it's geographically not that very far from some of the richest countries in the world. So it's a tremendously interesting region that has that wealth, but also the disparities between countries and within countries. But finally, I would say that, and coming back to the first question, it's a region that I think have tremendous potentials to propel in many different areas, but for sure in the area of gender equality.
And you once said in an interview that despite some progress, not a single country in the world can claim that they have achieved full gender equality. But what does full gender equality actually look like? And do you think it is achievable, particularly by 2030, like you mentioned?
It's a really good question, because gender equality at the end of the day is nothing but common sense. It's about ensuring that everyone has the same opportunities in life. So gender equality is about ending all forms of violence against women, in this case, simply because you are a woman. Gender equality is about to ensure that you're not subjected to harassment at workplace or at the street because you are a woman. Gender equality is for you to choose your life path, whether it's a career or only being with your family or both. So gender equality is actually also giving men, in this case, an opportunity to spend more time with their children, being part of the raising your children. So gender equality really is, again, nothing but pure common sense. Now, will we achieve gender equality in our lifetime? There was a bit of a depressing report that came 2019, the Gender Tracker. It showed us that if we move in the same pace as we are now, then we will not achieve gender equality before 100. Now, that's way too slow. This means that we now need to speed up, accelerate and amplify the efforts for gender equality. The good news is that the hard work is done. We have all signed to internationally binding commitment, and that's usually a difficult element to get everyone on board to agree on a certain resolution or a commitment for the gender equality, for example, or the SDGs, the Sustainable Development Goals 2030. We've all come together and agreed upon those. So the principles are there. The vehicle, in a sense, is there. Now it's just to move to action. And I do think that if we accelerate action in some areas, we will be able to achieve gender equality in our lifetime.
I just wanted to say that gender equality is as simple as common sense is my favorite thing that I have heard all year. I think that is just the most powerful and simply put line ever. So ITP has committed to UN Women's Media Compact to increase coverage of issues related to gender equality and women's empowerment. Now, a misconception that I often hear about UN Women is that it is an organization that only works with underprivileged women or women from developing countries. But why is it important to you and UN Women to kind of tackle these levels at tackle these problems at board level and at a corporate level as well?
Sure. Okay, so gender equality or the right to gender equality and non-discrimination on the basis of gender, it's universal. So it applies to everyone, whether your social background or economic background. It applies to you, it applies to me, it applies to whoever you would look at. So in a way, there is no distinction here. And UN Women, as you know, is the specialized agency of the United Nations for gender equality. So we work with governments, we work with national institutions, we work with civil society, because we have that mandate and the responsibility, of course. Usually at the United Nations, you work through a leave no one behind principle, which means that you ensure that your programs are reaching the ones that are needing it the most. And in a regular situation, these would be quite marginalized group. In, for example, the humanitarian situation, you have humanitarian maps that you look at, and the darker red the map is, the more you need to focus your attention towards these areas, because that means the needs there are severe, it's life-threatening. In the development portfolio, which UN Women is working largely in, UN Women also have humanitarian assistance, of course, you look at poverty rates in a country. So the natural mode of operandi, in a sense, is to focus your interventions on the areas in a country where poverty rates are higher. However, in the area of gender equality in particular, all of these elements are intertwined. So the area of workforce on the countryside, for example, is very connected to the workforce in urban areas. And the workforce in urban areas is very connected to participation in boards. So it's all interlinked in a sense. And here I do think it's very important to mention that when we work with workforce, for example, participation, or female workforce participation, again, it's a win-win situation. We have looked back for the past decades, and evidence tells us that if we would have narrowed the workforce participation gap between men and women in MENA alone, we would have exceeded the output or increased the output for around $1 trillion. So the GDP could have doubled in the past decade in MENA alone if the workforce gap would have been narrowed between men and women. 1 trillion is quite a lot of money. Yeah. So what we're thinking at UN Women is, if this is lost revenue in the past decade, we simply cannot afford losing that $1 trillion again in the coming decade, particularly in the post-COVID-19 economic recovery situation. Here, every cent counts, every US dollar counts. And for that reason, the increased number of women in the workforce is of critical importance. When it comes to boards, there is a study from 2016 of 1,500 publicly listed companies in 13 countries in the MENA region. Only 17% had female representations in their boards. Of course, this is connected. yes, this is connected, of course, to the low level of work participation. Low level of work participation is in itself connected to education system. So it's all of a circle that we need to work. And that's answering your question then. How come you don't work only with marginalized groups? That's the focus group in a sense. But one thing is connected to the other. And for that reason, working on female participation in boards is in a way quite directly linked to the workforce participation. And the workforce participation is a national effort that needs to be ensured every single woman, again, regardless of background, social, economic, cultural, religion, etc.
Wow. So we are also here today to talk about the power of female influence. So you've talked about why companies and board levels need women, but why does content need women?
Content needs women because of various reasons. But if we look at social media, for example, it's a powerful tool. In a way, it's a megaphone, I would say, to different point of views, right? Because it's such diversity on social media. So if you take a look at the Me Too movement, for example, the tremendous impact it has globally, and we have our own movement through Anna Kaman, for example. But in the area of COVID-19, we've also found that there's certain groups that haven't had a voice, that have been able to use social media as a powerful tool to give voice to the ones that are usually not heard. It could be migrants, it could be refugee women, it could be women that are locked and subjected to violence and not being able to express what they're going through. So it's extremely important to hear the diversity of views, hence the importance of content.
And you've talked about gender equality, meaning a better future for all, not just women. You know, it's not female empowerment isn't just something that is going to benefit women, but why is it something that everyone needs to get behind?
Because the simple answer to that question, which is a very good question, is because everyone benefits from gender equality. We took a look about the economical benefits, the $1 trillion that are there. It's simply an untapped national resource. On household level, there are equal evidence that show us if women and if the gap between women and men in terms of workforce would be narrowed, the household income could increase by 25%. So here you have benefits that would go directly to the children or to the husband in this situation. In the area of violence against women, for example, in 9 out of 10 cases, if a woman is subjected to violence in her home, most often also her children are subjected to violence. So it's women and violence against women, domestic violence, in the same way you tackle violence against children. Again, it's a win-win. And in decision-making, for example, also here I would point at evidence. There's tremendous evidence showing that women in decision-making bodies and decision-making processes are particularly prone to reach out to different thinking groups. So it's groups representing other religions, other political point of views, other cultures, other ideologies, etc., etc. And when we think of our world today, which is quite characterized by vulnerability and polarization, I sometimes wonder, what merit do we need more than this sort of merit and this sort of capability, the capacity to reach out to others? So again, it's a win-win. You have more women in decision-making bodies. That in itself will most probably, again, pointing at lead to more stability, peace, and this is something that is urgent for region in particular.
So what does UN Women have in the pipeline for 2021, and how do you see the next 10 years of gender equality evolving in the Arab world?
Okay, the pipeline 2021, for sure what we want to focus on, like many others, particularly our national counterparts, civil society organization, is a speedy economic recovery for the region, and economic, particularly in light of COVID-19. So where UN Women can particularly input into that process, again, is looking at the untapped resource of female workforce that is there, ready to contribute to financial recovery. Women in the region are particularly well educated. So it's again, it's an untapped resource. UN Women have worked on with the Global Compact on something that we call the 7 principles. It's principles for businesses to ensure that sort of female participation and equality in the workforce. It's principles about human resources, how human resources can be used to ensure gender equality. It's about how to ensure that you have a supply chain that also works with female entrepreneurs, etc., etc. So it's a quite practical tool. So in terms of ensuring a higher degree of female participation in the workforce to accelerate the economic recovery is definitely a main priority. But also in terms of COVID-19 and to ensure that the issues that have come out quite strongly for women in COVID-19 are addressed seriously, such as violence of women. There were reports about every 3 months, 15 million women are subjected to violence during the lockdown period. So we need to amplify our efforts, both normative and policy, but I would say equally, if not more importantly, on service level. How do you ensure that there are shelters that are closed, let's say villages on the countryside? So you want to move your activities and actions and programs closer to beneficiaries. And for that reason, it's particularly important to include women in the process of peace negotiations. Because we know, again, by evidence, that if a peace negotiation is inclusive by nature and it includes women, it is more long-lasting. This is evidence. So for that reason, we do have a region where we have 4 major humanitarian crises, and there's a number of ongoing peace processes and peace negotiations. And for sure, there will be a stronger possibility for these negotiations to be applied and to be sustainable if we have the contribution of women. Consequently, UN Women's work on women, peace and security is one of the main areas to be amplified in the coming years. Again here, because we do see that there could be a potential period in the coming years where we could transition from humanitarian to development. So for the next 10 years, those would be the final stretch we have to actually achieve the Sustainable Development Goals that are supposed to be achieved 2030. So the next 10 years is about acceleration and expansion of programs to ensure that we actually achieve the Sustainable Development Goal number 5 on gender equality. It needs an all-house approach. What does that mean? It needs national governments, international organizations, civil society, private sector, finance institutions, or finance institutes rather. So we need to come together and actually divide the workload. Who is doing what and by when? Because that's the only way we can collectively reach gender equality in the region. Now, the good news here is that in the region, in the Arab states, whether it's North Africa, Middle East, or the GCC, already now the national governments have set a vision for their countries. And that vision is very much established around an expansion and deepening of this region as a financial and commercial hub built on a knowledge-based economy. Now, knowledge-based economy, per definition, is based on merits, on capacities, on knowledge, on expertise. So this that simply cannot be achieved without addressing social barriers that hinders half of the population to contribute to that economy. So again, the vision is already there and it's set by our national governments. And there are already tremendous good examples in the region that give very clear examples of that we are serious about gender equality. In the United Arab Emirates, around 50% of parliament are women right now. Bahrain very recently chose or elected a female speaker. Egypt has increased its number of women dramatically, both in the cabinet as ministers and in the parliament. And it's one of the countries that has a more holistic COVID-19 response through a gender lens, with a number of programs that are looking particularly at gender. And Kuwait has one of the highest rates in terms of women participation in the workforce. Jordan, Lebanon, Tunisia, the list is endless when it comes to brilliant examples of how our countries in the region are serious about achieving gender equality. So the 10 coming years, the way I see it, is again, it's that window of opportunity where we can accelerate all of these interventions, and we can do it through collaborative approaches. And UN Women is and has always been and will always stand ready to support any initiative in the region to achieve gender equality. Do it's achievable in the coming 10 years? Absolutely.
Well, it's been absolutely incredible to hear everything that you've had to say today. So thank you so much for speaking to me. And I look forward to ITP and UN Women working towards the 2030 goal.
Thank you so much. It's been a great honor talking to you today. It's been more of a discussion and almost a conversation, and I really, really appreciate it. And I hope that we'll see each other soon again.
Yes, me too. Thank you.
I would now like to welcome to the stage model, entrepreneur, philanthropist, and more recently, food entrepreneur Jessica Kwati for our next session, Content Creator to CEO. Jessica is recognized for her global ambassadorships in fashion and beauty, as well as her philanthropic endeavors in several organizations, including working with the UN to raise humanitarian awareness through her multiple trips to refugee camps. Jessica is currently the only model who sits on the UNICEF Leadership Council that seeks to ameliorate the status of children globally. Jessica, welcome to the stage. So I mentioned that most recently you have become a food entrepreneur. So I would love to start by asking you all about Mama Rita, your new endeavor. What is it all about and why did you start it?
First of all, thank you so much for the introduction and good morning, everyone. Mama Rita was actually born during the pandemic. So in February of last year, 2020, my mom came from Australia to shoot a campaign for Bushborn Jewellery. And it was a mother-daughter campaign. It was meant to be for 2 weeks only, and she ended up getting stuck here with me. So during this time, I said to her, you know what, we need to make your dream come true. She is an amazing chef, an amazing mother. She has been cooking for us all her life, and everyone has been telling her, you have to do something with your food. You have to open a restaurant, a delivery business, whatever, but please share your food with the world. So from February of 2020 to September, so 6 months, we worked incredibly hard on everything. I have never dabbled in the food industry. I've never even come across it. I had no idea anything, not operations, not the marketing, not the branding, not the menu engineering, nothing. And we just educated ourselves during this time. And we ended up launching Mama Rita in September 2020.
And you guys have just expanded, haven't you? What is your business model and how have you grown and scaled the business?
So we were really surprised, to be honest. And I'm someone who is a bit of a perfectionist, but at the same time, I kind of expect the worst as well. So I honestly didn't know if I was going to sell 1 meal a day or hundreds. And the first month we were so incredibly fortunate to have sold 10,000 meals, and today we are beyond 100,000 meals after 6 months. So we work with cloud kitchens, which allow us to scale, and that's incredibly important, especially during this socioeconomic time. When I launched Mama Rita, I didn't have a brick and mortar space in mind. I looked at what was happening in the world. I saw that food delivery was booming. People were looking for healthy, homey food that was not pricey, were incredibly democratically priced, and food that is coming from a mother, where they trusted the source, they trusted the ingredients. And for us, I mean, I just listened to my gut instinct, I listened to people, and we created something with the help of dark kitchens. So we most recently expanded to Abu Dhabi, and it's actually our 4th kitchen in 6 months.
Have you incorporated philanthropy into Mamarita?
I think philanthropy comes in many forms. As you mentioned, I do work with UNICEF and I am on the Leadership Council or Circle, and that's one form of philanthropy. With food, we incorporate it in many ways. So one, we're very democratically priced. Two, the philanthropy comes through from more of an environmental sense. So for us, we have biodegradable packaging. We have packaging that's also reusable. We make sure that we have minimal waste when it comes to food. So we would rather be sold out of something rather than overproduce and have to throw away after a few days. And sometimes people get upset when they can't find their favorite cheesecake or like the fruit paradise. And you know, I'd rather they wait till the next day rather than us wasting food, because I think food wastage is one of the biggest problems, and millions of tons, I was going to say thousands, millions of tons of food is wasted a year.
I couldn't agree more with that. It breaks my heart, so love that. You are obviously a social media force to be reckoned with yourself. How have you used your platform to grow Mamarita, and were you kind of using your same social media strategy for the brand?
Yes, I think Mamarita is a testament for just being natural on social media and speaking about what you're so passionate about in a candid way. And this is the message that we're always telling brands, is just let me do the content because I know what works best. And it was purely done on social media. We didn't do any advertising the first month. Now we do advertising just to reach more people. But I just introduced the brand. I hyped people up before we launched for a couple of months, actually. And when we did launch, our kitchen crashed the first day. I mean, it was just so overwhelming. And luckily, it's been an upwards trend. So obviously, you don't want to just mushroom out and be super successful the first few months and then dip. So we're really lucky to have consistent growth, and that is thanks to social media. We do a lot of influencer marketing. A lot of my friends in the industry love and share our food. And it's funny because people get really excited over food more than fashion. And, you know, they love receiving food. So, and they love sharing it. I think sometimes, and I was having this conversation with someone yesterday, with fashion, you may not want your friend to have the same shoes as you know, maybe a variation, or like the same suit. But with food, it's shareable. You want to recommend to your friend, like, I had the best vegetarian lasagna. Someone told me that, Sarah, when I walked in. Or like, I had oh my gosh, you know, our family loves your food. So food is to be shared, and we rely on obviously influencer marketing, but as well a lot of word of mouth, which is incredibly important. And this is how you create longevity with your brand.
And what tips do you have for a young food entrepreneur, particularly a female food entrepreneur, for starting her own brand from scratch in a pandemic?
In a pandemic. I think you have to be really passionate about what you do. I mean, a food brand is not for anyone and everyone, and we work incredibly hard. Sometimes I sleep, actually not sometimes, almost every day I sleep at 4 or 5 a.m. It's incredibly dynamic. You have to keep consistency and quality. It's not that easy. You have to always be on top of things. It's a highly saturated market as well. The food industry has so many players. There's over 11,000 players in just Dubai alone, or the UAE. So you have to always have an edge and be different. I mean, we're unlike any other brand. What I love is that you can't really compare us to anyone else in the market. And I think you just really have to be passionate about it. We love food. In the family, we talk about food like it's, you know, my mom cooks twice a day. You know, lunch and dinner has to be different. So we're used to that, and we love our stomachs, and we love good food. And most importantly, we love food that is conscionable as well, because just before, I went off the topic a little bit, but I'll come back to it. But just before we launched the business, I was always ordering food delivery because I have no idea how to cook. And my mom's an incredible cook, and it's such a shame that I barely know how to make a salad. So I was always ordering out, and I just, didn't find a place that I could completely trust in terms of the ingredients and transparency of ingredient sourcing. So for us, also that transparency that we're giving people is so important. So, and this all comes under the umbrella of passion, because when you're so passionate about what you do, you want to communicate those messages to people. So I think for any female entrepreneur who's looking to do any business, whether it's food or anything else, it doesn't have to be food. I really recommend being different, being very passionate, and working super hard, because there's a lot of competition out there. So innovation is the number one thing.
And I wanted to ask about your work with investments. You have a background in law and finance, which are two things that I truly know nothing about. So can you give me a bit of background on your investment in the eGree app, and why did you decide to invest in it?
Sure. I think investment is very important, even if it's a small investment. So you don't have to invest millions of dollars into something for it to be of value or for you to learn from it. So I really think it's important. You don't have to know about law and finance to invest, because one, you get to learn from the people that you're investing with. You diversify, hopefully your income. And it's a good opportunity to be involved in something that matters. So the way that I usually like to make my investments in companies that I believe in, people I believe in, and topics that I believe are going to be of value in 5, 10, or 30 years. So eGree was actually a company introduced to me by my friend Natalia Vodianova. She is an incredible model and philanthropist as well, and she's an entrepreneur herself. And basically it's an app that aims to democratize law. So for people who feel that law is intimidating, who don't like to go to lawyers, who don't have the money to even go to lawyers because lawyers are super expensive, eGree has templates of agreements on the app that you can share with friends and sign. And these are all vetted by lawyers. So you have NDAs, you have things for the COVID pandemic to ensure that you're safeguarded against other people. It has cohabitation contracts because it's big in the US as well. It has a range of contracts, which I find incredible, because lawyers' fees are hundreds of dollars an hour, and this is already vetted by lawyers. So eGree aims to democratize law, to have it widely used within corporations and amongst people with friends. We could make a bet together and sign on it. I could have any sort of agreement with you and you're protected. Because if you go back to the origins of law, if you write something on a piece of paper, if I tell you I owe you $100 right now and I sign Jessica and I give it to you, that's valid in the court of law. So eGree aims to democratize that. You don't have to have these crazy, long, convoluted agreements. So that's one of my investments, and some of the others are in biotech, in brain health. Heights is another company that I truly believe in. They research brain health incredibly and have some vitamins that I use. I mean, it's only one pill that has everything inside. So I like companies that are making a difference and are contributing to humanity somehow.
And you mentioned that you invest in companies because of the people and because of the message that they have, but do you go looking for brands to invest in, or is it quite reactive?
It's quite reactive. I think amongst the business community, you end up getting your reputation, and people will start approaching you knowing that you have invested in something. So really it just comes out of chance, sometimes through conversations with friends. With the eGree investment, I actually saw Natalia's post and I said to her, babe, what is this? This is really cool. Like, she had just posted about it and she said to me, oh my gosh, you would be perfect. Like, please, let's have a call. So things happen like that with Heights and other investments. They were also through friends where, they would tell me about a company and they would say that the co-founder is really interested to have a chat with you. And usually we end up having a cool kind of arrangement, which is which would be really interesting for some influencers where I end up investing my own money. I think it's really important to have skin in the game. I don't like people who ask for things for free. I think we see a lot of that in this industry as well. So I think it's really important for someone to put their own money to invest, to show seriousness. But at the same time, we also have, you know, part of the agreement could also be barter, where I not only pay you, but I will also promote you on my platform.
And speaking of your platform, you have grown your Instagram page alone to over 1 million followers, and you probably get asked this question all the time, but how do you do it?
Honestly, I'm really organic with the way I post. I don't know, my page is a little bit different. Like I haven't hopped on the whole TikTok trend yet. I mean, you'll see like a couple of random videos. But I feel like people who follow me for a long time, and they're so interested in what I do in terms of the different aspects of my life. So whether it's my retail or my investments or the fashion, because that's fun and you can't talk about, you know, business all day, or the philanthropy. There's a lot of people who would wait for these humanitarian trips because they would learn something every time. For example, when I went to Bangladesh to raise awareness for the Rohingya refugees who had escaped Myanmar, I thought, just before I went, and this was a trip with UNHCR, I said, oh, you know what, I don't know if my followers are going to like this. And I underestimated them. I thought they were just interested in fashion and something that is very superficial. And my engagement ended up doubling, and I got more followers because people are interested in what is real. I find that more and more advertisements that are so overt and in your face, and where, you know, the client tells you like, hold the bottle and show it the tag, you know, and are too overt. The customer is way more intelligent than that. And they seek things that have a story, they seek things that have a purpose. And I think the more genuine you are, the more they will see that and the more that they will stick. And the stickiness is really important. The retention of these followers is incredibly important. So I look for longevity and not just, you know, sometimes I joke and say I could have totally been on 5 million followers now, not 1 million. But I'm much more selective in the way I present content. And what's even more important to me is followers who have purchasing power. So people who can actually buy. And I think, you know, the proof's in the pudding, no pun intended, we don't have pudding, but in Mama Rita, because, you know, we did sell those 10,000 meals. So, and mind you, I'm only in Dubai, selling in Dubai. So imagine if it was a product that was a pair of shoes or, you know, hypothetically, that I could sell and ship to Germany or the US. We know the numbers would have been much higher. So I think this ROI is proof that I am someone that tries to connect with my audience. I try to reply a lot to their messages, and I make them feel valued and part of my journey as well.
I totally agree with what you said about relatable content, because I know at Cosmo, whenever we post something that is super personable, relatable, we also get a much higher engagement than compared to the other things that we post. And you mentioned TikTok, which is just one of the many apps that's changing the face of social media. I mean, there's Clubhouse now as well. But what do you think the future of influencers looks like? It's kind of changing so much at the moment.
I think, look, TikTok's a great platform. I still occasionally use it. And it is a little bit more candid than Instagram, with all the advertising that Instagram does stipulate upon the business or the person using it. I think TikTok still comes across as organic, but you have to think of people's attention spans, and TikTok attention span, I mean, I spoke to someone from TikTok and people decide within the first millisecond whether they're going to watch a video or not. They just know. And you see sometimes people scrolling super fast. I think it's still a really good platform, and I think we will implement it a little bit more with Mama Rita. Honestly, we just haven't had time because our Instagram blew up and we gained 30,000 organic followers in, you know, a couple of months. And for a food business to have 30,000 is a tremendous feat. So I think TikTok is a great platform still. I think eventually people and ideas do get filtered out. You know, Clubhouse was like so exciting for a month, and it is still a unicorn company, and the fastest unicorn company, I think, in 9 months. It took to achieve that. But I think eventually, and I always give time, I like time. I like time to tell, I like time to reveal things. So I think eventually people get filtered out, ideas, and yeah, I think the cream will rise to the top, and you know, the good ideas will remain, and the good people will remain. Yeah.
And I wanted to end by asking about being a woman in business and gender equality. Have you ever faced any stereotypes or proverbial glass ceilings for being a woman in business? I feel like that reaction means that you've got a story.
So much, honestly. It's funny because anytime I'm at a dinner party or, you know, just anywhere, and people usually say like, what do you do? Are you a model? Like, you're a model. And I'm like, oh, well, that's like part of my life, yeah, but you know, I'm also into investments, and actually most recently, I'll tell you a funny story about when I was like mansplained. Sorry to all the men here. There's only like one, two, three. That's fine, we can talk about that. So, okay, I said B2B, okay, which I'm sure most of you know it's business to business. And a man said to me at dinner, bravo, you know what B2B means? And I was like, whoa, okay, like we're not having a conversation. So it's amazing how, and it's not just men, I mean men and women, just assume and like think that you're just, you know, and there's nothing wrong with being just a model, but like it's the first thing that comes to their mind. And I've been mansplained plenty, but I think within the first 5 minutes of a conversation, you either assert yourself and people respect you, and you know, for what you do, whatever it is that you do, you don't have to be in business and investments. And yeah, a lot of discrimination for sure.
We could host a whole other panel about mansplaining, but that's one for next year at Itp Live. So studies have shown that female entrepreneurs and business owners consistently rate themselves lower in performance than their peers. Why do you think that women do this?
They personally rate themselves lower? Yeah. I'll tell you why I do it, because I do it. When you're such a perfectionist and you are in an industry, I mean, especially the food industry, I deal with men all day long. There's probably one woman we deal with. The standards are much higher. I feel like whenever men achieve things, it's like, oh, amazing. And then a woman needs to work 10 times harder to prove herself. So I personally am very hard on myself, and I am a bit of a perfectionist, but sometimes I see it as a positive because it allows me to work harder and stronger and keep pushing. And I think the moment you think that you've made it and you're good and let's relax and put our feet up is the moment you will stop trying. But that's me, and not everyone functions this way. There are people who function differently, and you know, I'm not a measure for that. But I think women in general have just had such a harder time. We have, as the regional director for UN Women said, there aren't that many women in board positions, and that's incredibly important for them to be represented in all aspects of business. But women have to believe that they can do it. You really have to. You have to walk into a room and assume you are just, and you are, not just assume, you are just as equal as any competent other person in the room to have that role or position. And yeah, I think you know, you are what you believe, and you have to manifest all this. And I think it also has to do with self-confidence. And if you don't have self-confidence, it's okay, because I think it's a learned skill as well. I think that you can train yourself to believe that you can, and the more you do it, the more results you will see. Because if you believe yourself, the other person will believe you. So, you know, everything I said could have been true or could have been false, but you probably believe me, right? No, I'm kidding. So it's just how you assert yourself. So women need to believe.
And finally, what have you got lined up for this year? Anything exciting with Mama Rita, and any other things, any exclusives you can give us today?
In terms of my fashion life and my career there. We've had a lot of cool opportunities we're exploring. One of them is acting, so it's something that I've been dabbling with for a while, but didn't have the chance to really pursue it. I did a lot of acting courses in New York and LA, and it's something that I really want to do, but maybe a story that's meaningful. And on the Mama Rita front, we actually have something so exciting that's going to be announced in 6 weeks. And it's honestly a dream come true. And I had no idea that someone like that would approach us for something like this. And yeah, it was like month 4 of operation when I received the big email. So it's something so exciting, and it's, yeah, I will reveal more soon, but I can't just yet. But yeah, we're working so hard on this, and I really hope to see it go global.
Well, I can't wait for 6 weeks' time now to
Sorry,
hear what
I
you
hate
just
to be that
said.
person, like,
Yeah,
wait.
that's not fair.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for speaking to me today and joining us today at the ITP Live Conference.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
Okay, I think you're all about ready to hear from someone else that's not me now. So I'm thrilled to introduce our next session with social media megastar Olivia Culpo. Olivia is the very definition of going from content creator to CEO. What started as winning the coveted Miss Universe crown in 2012 has snowballed into a multifaceted career spanning model, actor, fashion designer, influencer, and philanthropist. Here, by the pre-recorded powers of Zoom, Olivia speaks with Cosmo contributing editor Alicia Lee about why female empowerment and mentorship is so important, the role that social media plays in growing your business, and how Olivia has used her platform to respond to COVID-19 and give back during the pandemic.
Olivia Culpo, welcome to the ITP Live Conference. We are live in Dubai, actually, when this airs, and we're honored to have you here.
Thank you for having me. Oh my gosh, I miss Dubai. I miss traveling.
I know. Well, you know, we're so impressed with the brand you've created for yourself in the spaces of modeling, beauty, and fashion. You are really a fierce entrepreneur and a business-minded woman, and the perfect celebrity speaker for our socialpreneurship, the journey from content creator to CEO. So thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. That's an honor. It's a heavy title.
So COVID-19 has truly impacted the world, and we've all had to pivot our lives and our businesses. And in this year, we found there was a lot of giving back for many, including yourself. Could you tell us a little bit about how you responded to COVID-19 as an entrepreneur?
So for me, I had the idea, I had an idea that I wanted to pursue. I knew I needed to do something to get back. I was feeling honestly just very depressed. I felt like I wanted to get back. I just didn't really know where that was going to end up living. And as face masks became more popular, I thought to myself, why don't I make really cool, fashionable face masks that are reusable and comfortable? And at that point in time, honestly, it wasn't even a mandate to wear them. There was no actual backing as to whether or not they were even considered safe. So there was a lot of red tape, but I had a feeling that we were going to start wearing masks. I would go out and I would see them a little bit more. I heard mixed reviews of whether or not it was even helpful, but I thought that if anything, there are a handful of people wearing masks. I can make them, and then I can donate all of that money to a cause. And so then I started thinking about what cause I would partner with, and I started to do research on that. And I realized that a lot of people were just trying to find food. A lot of people were hungry. That was the number one basic need that I thought was going to be the most impactful. So I decided to partner with Feeding America. And then that's how More Than a Mask started. So one mask sold equals 100 meals. And we've raised over 1.5 million meals. And I'm about to actually resurrect More Than a Mask and create on a more female-based angle. Now that COVID is looking up, I'm going to actually partner with another organization that would be more female-based.
That's incredible. Wow. And what a pivot you did during the pandemic. That's really, really inspiring, Olivia.
Thank you.
So, this entire conference is about female empowerment, and we'd love to know why female empowerment is important to you.
Well, I feel like I owe all of the success that I've had to other women. Honestly, I think that in a lot of ways, none of us would be where we were if we did not have something or someone to look up to, another woman who paved the way, whether we know them or we see them from afar, whether it's a relative or a stranger. So I feel like it's a huge part of my brand because I know and really do believe that a win for one woman is a win for all women. And I think that I've been able to learn so much from really embracing that and embracing the successes of other women that are my peers, that have come before me, and that are even just in my family.
I love that. That's beautiful. So you've done an incredible job transitioning from being a model, a creator, into a businesswoman, a CEO. How did you make that transition? And what advice would you give to other creators looking to do the same?
Well, I feel like at the end of the day, I've always found this to be true. The number one, the only person standing in your own way is yourself. So I think first and foremost, you need to believe in yourself and the possibilities you have to achieve something, whatever that thing is. And you can't pay attention to what anyone else has to say about it. You can't pay attention to whether or not it's the status quo, whether or not you've seen it before. Because I think a lot of the time that type of self-talk is what holds people back. And a lot of what that boils down to is really our own self-dialogue. So I feel like at the end of the day, you just have to advocate for what you see for yourself. And you also have to understand that part of breaking barriers and starting something is it hasn't been done before. Like you really can't look outside of yourself to find like that go ahead, that like stamp of approval, because a lot of times as a real pioneer and like entrepreneurs usually are, you have to be that stamp of approval for yourself. So I feel like it starts within, as cliche as that sounds.
Ooh, that was deep. Well said.
Thank you.
So, your business resume is really impressive. Can you tell us what you look for when partnering with brands?
Oh, well, I feel like a lot of that changes regularly, especially this past year. There are a lot more things that I look for. I think first and foremost, you have to feel like it's an authentic connection. You have to feel like you trust the people and the purpose of whatever the product is. So for example, with me, I actually own 2 businesses with my family, which is really fun. I own restaurants with my dad. We're opening up another one. Those were the easiest business decisions to make because at the end of the day, I know that he's always going to have my best interest. But I would say when you're really venturing out into new people, it's so important to make sure that like it is a relationship that you trust. You don't want to be stuck with something that you're uncomfortable with. And then another thing, honestly, I've heard from a lot of really successful business women because I talk to them a lot. I'm a girl's girl. I talk to all girls all the time. But you have to have a really good lawyer. Have a great lawyer. That's one piece of advice that I received from Anastasia. I don't know if you know Anastasia.
Oh, the eyebrows. Yes.
Told me that like 3 years ago. And I always think about that because she's right. So that's a little bit more pragmatic.
Solid. Yeah. No, that's some solid. Get yourself a good lawyer and do business with people you like. That's great. So you have millions of fans globally. I mean, this is in Dubai right now. And so how did your digital audience help support the success of your brands and companies?
I feel like everything now is an open forum. Everyone is so much more connected than we were even 5 years ago. With social media, I mean, everyone is together in this social media world. Social media drives everything. So it was a huge driving force because it was a huge way that I could communicate with people and also be discovered by people all over the world. So really, honestly, I don't even know what a world would look like without social media and without that international fan base, I guess you could say, because it's all that I've ever known. And I definitely think I owe a lot of my success to that. Just really leveraging it.
It is pretty incredible how connected we can all be no matter where in the world you are.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about Culpos and Ink, how that brand came to life?
So that's a collaboration with my sisters that we did with Macy's. My older sister and my younger sister and I decided to do this collaboration together with Macy's. We did 3 drops. So we just finished the 3rd one. I'm really proud of the pieces. They're really, really, really cool. Lots of vegan leather, lots of really cool silhouettes. We have a lot of shoulder pad details. I feel like it actually feels like we ship internationally. So anyone tuning in the Middle East right now has to check it out. It's Culpos XINC. And we have an Instagram that has all the clothes, and everything's on a really good sale right now because Macy's is great about it. They have great sales all the time.
Oh, we love a good sale. That is amazing. Make sure you guys check that out. And so with this collaboration, and how much would you say that social media played a role in the success of it?
Well, I would say a ton, especially given the fact that none of the stores were open because of COVID. So none of the stores were selling the product for the most part. And then we're all kind of stuck at home. So I don't know how any product would be moved if we didn't have social media during this pandemic. I mean, it would be hard.
Yeah. So true. So true. So Olivia, what inspired you to become an entrepreneur and a businesswoman?
I've always really loved the idea of entrepreneurship. I think it's because my dad raised us in the restaurant industry, and I saw the way that the restaurant industry in itself brought people together. And that's where I really started to understand that I wanted to be a business owner. And I always said to myself, if nothing worked out in my career, modeling or acting or anything, that I would love to own a restaurant. I actually have journals from when I was 18 years old saying that that was one of my goals, to be a restaurant owner. I think I just was really driven to the hospitality industry just as much as the idea of owning something and being able to be a business person, because I love the way that food brings people together and creates this great communion and memories that you remember forever. So it was both equally really important to me. Yeah.
I love that. So you're involved in many philanthropy efforts, and you've been a mentor yourself to other women. So did you have a female mentor on this journey, or do you currently have one?
I would say there were a lot. I mean, even just how I started out knowing that I really wanted to get into the entertainment industry. At the time, I was really just focused on acting. And that's when I was at Boston University. I was studying communications and acting. And I started just researching how I could become successful. Like I would just Google, and I was a biography snob. Like I knew where everyone was born, where they started, what their breaking role was, how they broke into the industry. And a lot of what I would see were pageants. It was so crazy to me. I saw like Michelle Pfeiffer, Halle Berry. I mean, you'd be shocked. So many women started, even if they were really young. I kept seeing pageants, and I was like, well, I don't have anything else to do. And I definitely don't have an agent or agency or anyone that I can turn to. Why don't I just try a pageant? And so then I went from Miss Rhode Island to Miss Universe in a year and a half. And then everything after that changed. And I kind of just really understood that I love the challenge of just like setting my mind to something and going for it. I loved the thrill of that. So that's kind of where it all started. And I think that just kind of was basically back to me looking at other women. I was looking at what worked for them. I was being inspired. I was taking inspiration. And that's still something I do. I definitely still do that. It changes on a daily basis, though. I will say that.
That's good, though. There's a lot of inspiration out there, a lot of amazing females, including yourself. So absolutely. So I want to go back to the restaurant. You mentioned the passion of the hospitality industry and this restaurant you started with your family. And I believe it's called Back 40 and it's in Rhode Island. So you're on the way to opening a second restaurant. So tell us a little bit more about your endeavors in the hospitality and food and beverage space.
Yeah, so Back 40 is, I think, about 3 years old now. And then Union in Maine will be opening in the summer. So that's really exciting. And where I grew up in Rhode Island, it's the smallest state. It's a very, very much a hometown feel. So to now have 2 restaurants there, I mean, I'm so proud. I'm so proud that I'll even be able to like have something that I feel is a piece of myself where I grew up, because that will always be my home. Although I don't think I'll ever really be able to live there, it will always have a piece of me. And I think that those restaurants represent that for me. And also being able to go back and also provide a space for people to just enjoy themselves and have fun. It's a really cool, I've always been drawn to that part of the restaurant industry more than anything. So it's really nice to see it come to life. It's a dream come true. It really is. And also working
I
with
love that.
is great.
Well, maybe Dubai could be on the map. You know, we love restaurants in Dubai.
Oh, I know it. I know you guys do love restaurants. Every time I go to Dubai, I'm just like, I just love those like 4-hour dinners and like the teas and the courses and everything about it. The people watching, the outfit is great.
So you've accomplished so much in your career, modeling, entrepreneurship, your philanthropy work. What are you the most proud of?
Ooh, oh my gosh, it's so hard to say. I feel like you're never really done, but something that I'm really proud of, I really do have to say I'm really proud of More Than a Mask, because I feel like that was something that was very, very rewarding to see start to finish. It was this idea that I had in the middle of a very scary time, and it felt like I could never have pulled it off. And watching that idea slowly become something that was real and actually made a difference was awesome. And I'll always have that to kind of fall back on. Like even what I'm doing now, after my own experience with endometriosis, I've decided I want to resurrect More Than a Mask, but I wanted to be more female oriented. And before, food was an issue, so I wanted to target that. I just feel like I'll be able to have a little bit more control in exactly what I want to make a difference. And I feel very blessed to be able to do that.
It's amazing. So what does the future hold for Olivia as an entrepreneur?
Ooh, okay, well, I have a lot of ideas. There will definitely be more in the fashion space. Definitely there will be more in the restaurant industry, because I'm just so passionate about that area. I would say real estate is something that I've been doing my due diligence on, because I want to learn and definitely get into that eventually. But then 2 other really exciting areas, something in the beauty industry that I can't talk about yet, but I will be able to share that eventually. That's a really exciting project. And then also I have a canned cocktail called Bide, which is another really exciting thing that I've launched here in the US. But I feel like in general, just taking every opportunity and continuing to learn and grow, because I feel like I'm really lucky to have all of these different areas that I have a hand in. And every day I'm learning, every day I'm growing. And I feel like that's really all you can ask. And then as far as the one thing in the beauty industry, I just can't talk about it yet, but eventually you guys will see what that is.
Well, we are looking forward to it. We can't wait for that reveal. And you are incredible. Thank you so much. Thank you that you shared some amazing gems. And it was a pleasure to have you at the ITP conference.
Oh, I'm so glad that you loved it. Thank you so much for the opportunity. I'm so happy that this worked out. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your conference, and hopefully I'll be there in person some year.
Yes. Yes, we'll have to get you to Dubai soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
I'd now like to welcome to the stage the woman who basically made all of this possible, Alia Fawad, General Manager of Itp Live. Alia will be speaking to Nada Abu Saab, Director of Marketing at Majid Al Futtaim Malls, and Rola Karam, Interim CCO and VP of Content Acquisitions and Head of Arabic Channels, to talk about the power of female-driven content.
Hello. We're just setting up our chairs for Nada and Rola. Hi, Rola. Thank you so much for joining us, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you, Rola.
Thank you for having us.
I hope you're enjoying the morning.
Yes.
Yeah?
Amazing crowd, beautiful woman, beautiful gents.
And it's live streamed as well. So everyone is watching, and thank you so much for being part of ITP Live Conference. I'm going to start with a generic question about female leadership styles. How does that differ from a male leadership style? So whoever wants to go first.
Go ahead. Shall I? First of all, my name is Rola Karam. I work at OSN, which is the pay TV.
Sorry, Rola. I think we need to adjust the mic.
Hello, hello. Hey. Yeah, okay, perfect. No? No?
Let me give you my mic.
Oh, sorry. Hello. Oh, yeah. So I work at OSN, the leading pay TV platform in the Middle East. We've been, as you know, I'm sure, I hope the majority of you know OSN. We have the pay TV as well as the digital platform, OSN Streaming. When you walk down the Sheikh Zayed, you'll see on the hoarding the content that we present on a monthly basis. I've been heading the acquisition department for the past 4 years. Have been in the business for the past 25 years. So that's what I do for a living. I have 2 hats. I'm a mom of 2 wonderful young men, because they're teenagers and an adult, and a career woman. I would say there's no gender differentiation when it comes to the kind of work I do. It's the experience that you have and hello, okay, the experience, the knowledge, and if you apply that thoroughly and you know what you're doing, then there's no gender differentiation, at least in the field that I'm working on. You have to have the skills, you have to have the relationships, and over years, you know how to build your negotiation skills, and that's how you proceed with any kind of content that we license to our platform. OSN has. Okay, I don't know what's wrong. Sorry.
Hope this one.
Hello. Yeah, I think so. Yes. So that's I don't see a gender differentiation at all. It's all based on knowledge and experience and the skills that you take with you and you learn throughout the years.
So another difference of female leadership style and male leadership style. What do you have to say?
So first of all, thank you for having me here, and welcome everyone to Mall of the Emirates, one of the 28 destinations within Majid Al Futtaim shopping malls. During my 25 years of experience in the MENA region, I guess my biggest takeaway is to lead by example as a female. So we have to set the standards of efficiency and effectiveness that we would like others to emulate and even exceed. From a leadership style perspective, I think women in general, and I'd like to think that me as well, should be quite empathetic, right? And lead
with empathy and understanding. Yes, we have to be firm, we have to have a North Star, a roadmap, but really lead from the heart and invest as much attention and support the team to grow with us, right? I believe in the happiness of the team. I believe in the passion of each and every individual within my team. We all read articles about women being more effective. I have to brag about this, Rilla. I mean, the recent one that I've read in the Harvard Business Review said that we are more effective than men in 84% of the competencies usually measured to measure leadership. Now, this has to do a lot with the fact that we do invest in our own self-development. I mean, I think with the challenges that we faced throughout the years, we've learned to become quite resilient. But I do believe also in the support that men give us. And I personally wouldn't have been here without the support of my husband, or even without the support of my bosses and during my career. So, but I do also align with Rilla in the fact that it's not about gender equality or inequality in the workplace, it's about really making sure we position ourselves as capable and professional and equal to one another. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just testing the mic. Yes, it's working. We are talking about power of female influence, and that's the theme of today's conference. So, women of influence. From yourself and your personal point of view, who are your inspirations, Arona?
I would have to say there's plenty of women, and especially when it comes in the Arab world. But I would go actually for about my mom. Basically, she's been our backbone. She raised a family of 4 by herself, and she's a strong woman that I look up to her on a daily basis, and I thank God that she's always around. Yeah, she's my mentor, and she's everything. She's my world, and I hope that one day I do, like my boys now look up to me, and they're so proud that I'm like, okay, I'm there, and I'm delivering the message. I'm trying to raise them well and to be well citizen and men that they can respect and respect the women in their lives or around them. So
well, that's really good that you've got your personal role model. Yeah. But if you were to look at the role models that are currently there for other women, who would you say is your inspiration?
I would say the female directors in the region. They've done incredible creative work because I come from the business of entertainment and movie production and series. There's plenty women that they've reached almost the Oscars. Like for instance, Nadine Labaki, one of them. There is a few female from Egypt directors. There's plenty, but when it comes to mind, I would say Nadine Labaki has reached the top for her, and I look up to her. Yes, yeah. When it comes to the entertainment business, especially.
Nada, what would you?
A lot of women.
Yeah.
A lot of friends, mother, previous bosses I've worked with, some team members as well. But if I have to choose one, I'd like to reference Dr. Farida Al-Husani, the official spokesperson of the UAE healthcare sector. She's played an incredible role during the COVID times. She really emerged as a hero, and I find it incredible that she was able to really combine her healthcare and medical expertise with a very clear and effective communication skills that really positioned her as a highly esteemed media expert. And she's someone I do follow on social and LinkedIn. And yeah.
That's amazing. Thank you so much. That both are very inspiring figures. Now, you both are working in an industry where you are reaching out to millennials and Gen Zs. So how do you determine what kind of communication and what communication platforms are you going to target them?
my God, this generation is so witty, outspoken, out there, and they're so unpredictable. What we do at OSN, we rely actually heavily on our research data scientist department, and they go into the nitty-gritty and they analyze the data they have on the behaviors and the trends, and accordingly we start sourcing out content to reach that kind of mass of the millennials and the Gen Z. So it's all about data-driven and the analytics behind it. It's quite challenging because it's very unpredictable, to be honest. Very
so
unpredictable.
Could you share with us what platforms have your data guys told you to follow?
Yes, yes, we do work closely with our data scientists because our content is very diverse. We have the Western content from all the major studios on board. We have the Disney app, Disney Plus, I mean. We have HBO content, and as well we have the Arabic as well. So we try to have around 50% Arabic content, and the other 50% will be Western to cater to the mass. And accordingly, once we get this data, we go and get more and source more content from the different parts of the world. So it's very unpredictable. It changes a lot, and knowing that entertainment and TV business still has its audience, but we know that the shift is happening obviously to the digital world, which we launched or relaunched actually our OSN streaming app, but yet still a digital content which is short and on social platform is very much trending right now. But we do have that piece of chart that we maintain our viewership on both the linear traditional TV as well as the OSN streaming.
Yes, I agree. Research is very important. We do invest a lot in research in Majd Al-Futtaim. And data is important, but Khalil might mention something the other day that I found quite interesting. Data is like oil. Data on its own is good to have, but it's not going to help you in anything. It's the insights that you really drive from this data. It's the refined oil that will be quite useful, right? I think the challenge in nowadays, and Rola, you pointed this out perfectly well, is how can we predict the future? So it's not only knowing about the current trends. So I am in the business of shopping malls, right? And for us to build a shopping mall in the next 3 to 4 years, we have to start building it today. But how should we build it? And what should we have at this shopping mall for the consumer of tomorrow? Is the big question we always try to answer. So the way we do this is we stitch the data that we receive from different sources. And in this case, it's really omni, right? So it's online and offline. And we try to use machine learning and some algorithm to try and predict some of the future trends and not only current trends. And so far it's been quite insightful. And I guess with the recent opening in City Center Al Zahia, it just proves that it works, right? So we've launched some innovations that are quite current nowadays, but this has been thought through a few years before. And we continue to do it in the next few months and the next 4 to 5 years in Saudi, so yeah.
Amazing, can't wait to see all those innovations coming to life. Obviously, both of you come from industries that actually focus on female consumers. So what is the percentage of female consumers and how do you do an outreach to them?
I would say our base is about 50% would be female consumers. Our core market is definitely Saudi and the Khalij area. We've actually, so I would say 50%, but what we've done recently, we have, as I said, we have content that caters to everyone, to families, to females, as well as the male. However, March 8 marked a new milestone for OSN, which is 3 weeks ago. We launched OSN Women on our platform. Us and Women is programmed, curated, even the content that was acquired, everyone was behind. This channel was done and made by women of USN. It was a teamwork, and from inception to execution, I would say it was all women. USN Women is available now on the box as well as on our streaming app. The lineup that we have is lifestyle programming from health to beauty to social issues as well as reality shows. And hopefully soon we'll start producing our original content for this channel. So yes, we heard the voice of women. We noticed that there's a gap in this industry, in the TV business, about pure channel, full-fledged channel about women. And accordingly, we decided to launch this channel, and it was done by females of us. And
fantastic, another. Wow, yeah. This is beautiful.
Yes, we're very proud of it.
Yes, you should.
Yesterday we got the ratings, and it's actually in the top 10, and it's only been 3 weeks. So
wow,
there's more to come.
So 80% female.
I hope so. Yeah. Yeah.
Now we need all the shoppers to come to our malls, male, female, right? They have to all come and shop. But half of our visitors are female. And as you might also know, a lot of the decision-making process happens, with our female shoppers. So what we do is really, again, I want to go back to insights. So we try to also analyze the behavior and the interests of our shoppers to understand really what they're looking for. And we design experiences based on that. So the next innovation we're launching is going to be dedicated to men, to help women shop. Yep. So what's the biggest pain point of men during the shopping journey in any mall? Go ahead, men. Give me one pain point you have. There are 3 men in the room. I need one.
All of it.
All of it.
The waiting.
Waiting. Men hate waiting. Okay.
Or carrying bags, I guess.
Yeah, and carrying bags. Good point. So we've launched a hands-free service in Mall of the Emirates 3 years ago. And it was really quite interesting to see how the average spend and the dwell time is the average time that customers spend in the mall, increased month on month. And now if I look at it year on year, it's a double-digit percentage growth. So yes, so we've addressed one of your pain points, carrying bags, but waiting is another key one. Hence, you need to look forward to a space that we're going to create dedicated to men who don't want to wait in the mall, but are going to have a very interesting space where they will find everything that they will be looking for to wait or to spend time while waiting.
And they play mini golf there.
Oh, that's something we haven't thought about, but yeah, we have to look into it. But yes, they're going to have their cigar lounge, they're going to have their tailor, they're going to have their PlayStation perhaps corner. So yeah, so we're going to think of men to help women shop in our malls.
Can we join?
Of course.
Which mall? Yes.
Mall of the. So we usually pilot innovations in one destination, and then we roll these out in other destinations as we go. So hands-free, we started the pilot in Mall of the Emirates, and based on the success of Mall of the Emirates, we launched it in City Center Mirdif and City Center Bahrain, and it's going to be available in Mall of Oman and lately in City Center Eldhagen. So yeah, so innovations usually are rolled out in one destination and then later on in other destinations.
That's amazing. Can't wait to bring my husband for shopping next time. So you both are amazing, successful female leaders. What's your personal social media strategy?
I definitely have LinkedIn because I need to be up to date with competitors, but the studios are, obviously we have updates and receive updates on a regular basis from the studios, but I'd like to see what's the global trend when it comes to production of content. So LinkedIn is my main source for when it comes to work. but obviously I use the Instagram and Facebook, because we do as well have an area dedicated for us. And when we release snippets of the content we have, of the new releases that we have, for instance, now we're working on our Ramadan lineup as well. So this is a big month for us. So everything you will see on SN Insta page, I follow, and I see lots of faces here. For instance, Jessica before, like I follow her, and I admire the success she's built in a very short time. But I would, my main source is LinkedIn when it comes to my career, yes.
Amazing. Another.
Of course.
Do we see you doing TikTok videos?
I did one. I was so proud. But yeah, listen, I think I'd like to think of all of us as influencers. Okay, now I don't have the 1 million followers, and I have a private account. But I take social media very, very seriously, whether it's for personal or professional reasons, because I think social media really needs to reflect our values and beliefs, and it really needs to mirror our personality without necessarily oversharing, right? I find every post and every comment to be influencing somehow, directly or indirectly, our audience, whether it's a small audience or a big one. Personally, from a professional standpoint, I find social to be extremely useful. It helped me network, share a lot of thought leadership with like-minded people in different industries. And it helped me during COVID times as well to continue learning and growing, because obviously we were on lockdown, and social gave me the opportunity to subscribe to a lot of webinars, to a lot of education platforms that helped me fill some time while, that was quite challenging during the last year. So yeah, power of social.
Thank you. And now we saw Susanne from UN Women earlier today talking about not just helping refugees and women in rural areas, but also on corporate level, and also changing the way advertisement and marketing is perceived, and the traditional role of women should be changed. Do you ensure that when it comes to your communication and advertising strategy and marketing strategy on the perception of women should be non-traditional?
I would say it has to be both. We do definitely, the voice of women is very much out there with OSN, and we rely on the voice of women. When we did the survey last year of what's missing on our platform, and we got that women are looking for content that is relatable to them, and this part of the space was empty, so we filled that gap by launching OSN Women just a few weeks ago. So we do listen to the women and obviously the male counterpart, and we tap into all these. We're trying to tap into all these issues that women would like to send their voices across. When it comes to the marketing, we rely on different platforms, digital and on air as well. Still, it has a big space on our platform, and the outdoor marketing plays a big role in this region, and especially in Saudi and the Gulf area. So we try to fill that gap, and we listen to our subscribers and what they're looking for, and try to entertain them. And yeah, it's a challenge. It's been a challenging time. There's lots of other platforms in the region, local and globally, but we're trying to find a niche content that we can have on our platform, and original production will be something that we want to move forward with. I'm not just saying original production when it comes to scripted series or scripted content, but rather unscripted. So I welcome anyone from this audience or elsewhere to come with ideas, to pitch ideas to OSN, and we can take it further. And if there's anything of interest and relevant to the region, we'll definitely take it into consideration and work with them.
Oh, great, that sounds very interesting. Another, how do you ensure female empowerment through your communication, advertising, marketing?
Every woman is an individual with, you know, her own character, personality, traditional, non-traditional, it doesn't matter. We need to be relevant to what they are expecting and what they want. In a previous session, Jessica mentioned something quite important about the engagement improving, or Milli, you mentioned it, that engagement does improve when the content is relevant to the audience. And this is where personalization is critical and is very, very important. So I mentioned behavior and interest before, and I mentioned 360-degree, perhaps, understanding of our customer profile. What we're trying to achieve now is a 720% degree of understanding of these profiles to really hyper-personalized content for our audience. Empowering women can happen on social and can happen offline, and we all have a duty to do that. We've done it in multiple occasions in our different malls. We've opened pop-ups for female entrepreneurs who wanted to showcase their products and test how it is to really work in a retail environment, right? Not only online, because selling online is very different from selling offline. And the future of shopping is always going to be omni. It's not going to be only online or only offline. We're human beings. We seek these interactions, right? So this is one example of many that we've done in our malls.
That's amazing. Now, my last question is, what would you like to say to your younger self?
I guess pursue your dreams, not your parents. That's for sure, for me, yeah. But I did that, by the way.
Do tell us.
So what happened is I studied biology, and I was, my family wanted me to become a doctor. And then when I moved back to the region, I was in Canada, and when I moved back to the region, I worked in this industry, as I said, 25 years ago. My mentor was, God bless his soul, he came in, and I was like trying to find a job back in Lebanon, and I remember I was, I think, 23 years old. I just came back from, I just came to Lebanon, newlywed, very young age, and then I was looking for a job, and I could not find anything related to biology, and I wasn't going to teach, obviously. So I remember knocking at this company. It says a multinational company launched in Lebanon. It's a British company. So I went in. I still remember that day. It's as if it was yesterday. And he was previously my ex-boss. He came and he says, "Let's come for an interview." I said, No, I'm not even dressed for an interview. And he says, No, come in. And we did the interview, and he says, you're on board. It was a very long journey for me. It's not easy at all, by the way. This industry, the entertainment industry, is not an easy one. And I did not know anything about this industry, honestly, but I had the passion and the responsibility, and I wanted to do something. So I started a very junior level, and I just worked my way up until I was headhunted by STC in Saudi to come to the Gulf area, and I've been here for 7 years, and now I have a very good position at OSN. I'm proud to say that with the help of our male counterparts and our CEO at OSN, we see the female leaders at OSN, like our HR is our head of HR, head of marketing, strategy and business. They're all female. They have the female roles. So we're proud. Yes. And before I end I would like to welcome We used to have a program at OSN before the COVID, internship programs for fresh graduates and students who would like to learn our business and what happens behind the scenes. Because what you see on TV or on your SVOD platform, there's so much work behind it. So if and when the COVID times are over, hopefully soon, I would welcome students to come apply for an internship program and learn the business if they're interested in the creative department, our programming department, even with the legal, finance, anywhere. And we have a variety of offers that we can offer students.
That's great.
Yeah.
Please take note.
Yeah.
Another.
It's never too late. Really, it's never too late. And it's interesting because lately I spent some time supporting, I'm not going to say mentoring, coaching, but supporting friends of mine and other women who reached out to ask me, is it too late to go back to the workplace? Like, I haven't worked for years. Is it too late to go back to studying? Because I feel like my knowledge is a bit outdated. And it's never too late. It's never too late, and nothing's impossible, right? Confidence is key. Be passionate about what you do. And don't wait for the opportunity to be nicely packaged for you and wait for you to grab. Be bold, ask for what you deserve, and ask for more because you can. I know I said a lot, but this is a lot of learning, I guess, throughout our career. And yeah, just believe in yourself.
That's great. Well, you both have evolved to be such amazing leaders and inspiring role models. And thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for your time.
today. Thank you.
Thank you.
or tuning in on our live stream, then a very warm welcome to the first ITP Live Conference, The Power of Female Influence, in partnership with UN Women. Just a reminder that if you're going to post on social media, which we obviously think that you definitely should, please remember to tag at ITP Live, at UN Women Arabic, and the hashtags are ITP Live Conference and Female Influence. I'm very excited to introduce our next session, Invisible Haters. Has anyone here ever considered leaving social media due to negative comments? Sorry. Has social media ever affected anyone's views on body image? Well, here to ask all of these questions and more is Esquire Middle East Editor-in-Chief, Matthew Baxter-Priest. Matt will be joined both virtually and on stage by singer-songwriter Layla Cardan, founder of Niche Arabia Saudi Style Council and author of Under the Abaya, Mariam Masali, and the first woman to summit Mount Everest and the 7 summits, Raha Maharik. Please welcome to the stage.
Do you want to please sit? Which side do you want to go on?
This is my better side.
That's your better side. I don't have a good side, so I'll sit here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us. Hello to everyone at home. Hello to our sensational lineup of guests, and yeah, welcome to this rather fantastic panel that we've got lined up for you this afternoon. It's called The Invisible Haters. Now, I believe we'll be having our guests that are both dialing in from Saudi with us joining up on the screens, as Milli mentioned. theme, but it's something that all three of you have just mentioned in your answers. And I want to throw this question over to Marion, because we've spoken about it before. It's that idea of accountability. Should accountability be, so I'll ask the question to Marion, should accountability be normalized on social media? If so, kind of how do you define accountability, or why is that level important?